Everybody on? I got 8 o'clock flat. You want to let's get rolling. See no reason to hold on.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order at 8 o'clock a.m. You want to go ahead and do the certification and quorum?
Yes, we do have a quorum. We have Boyd, Kathy, and Greg have dialed in. The rest of us are here in person. The meeting was also noticed properly online as well as here at the lodge. I'd like to go ahead and submit the meeting minutes from September 6th. I sent the draft minutes out. There's no changes, so I think we're ready to pass those if we can.
So moved. So moved. Got a second?
Second.
Okay. You're echoing.
Turn it off.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
They're coming in nice and clear, all of them.
Nice.
Yeah, okay, that's better than normal. Okay, sounds like we got the minutes.
We're good to go.
7-0. All right, good morning, everyone. The vast majority of this meeting, we are really going to focus mostly on the budget today. I did want to share a couple of things. As everyone is aware, we did get the DCCRs passed last time. Those have now been recorded, so they're officially of record. One of the things that is tied to that is our requirement to track mortgages, track mortgagees for anybody that has financing on their properties. We're working on a way to track that. We will likely put a survey out or something along those lines if we need to, but we do need to track that because we have a notification requirement as part of that. In addition, I've talked to the group, and we'll certainly, I think, likely move forward on it. Because we've had some issues with properties that haven't had insurance, we likely will move forward with some way of tracking that everybody has insurance. I think everybody's aware that under the rules and regs for the DCCRs, I guess, you're required to have insurance for your units. We've had a couple of situations that have occurred where damage has happened and folks haven't had insurance. I did talk to American Family specifically just to kind of understand the mechanics behind tracking that. Anybody that has had a mortgage knows that you have to add your mortgagee to your homeowner's policy. There is something very similar as an additional insured notification that we would likely ask all the homeowners to do with their insurance companies. Haven't quite worked out the mechanics of it yet, but likely that will be addressed at some future point in a newsletter, just to give everybody a heads up on that, and we'll likely get the newsletter out probably about the same time we get the budget out. Let's see, how do we want to roll with the budget? It's funny, I didn't put the budget on the...
Yeah, it is.
It is? Where is it?
Just before old business.
Yeah, okay. Well, why don't we go through the reports first and get all that knocked out? And just, if anybody feels like I'm rushing, I got a flight at 1:30, so there is a degree of that. So I'm giving you all a heads up now. I'm on my 13th day on the road, and I'm going home today. So I don't know that there's any updates, Ron, on rules and regs, but anything you want to share? I just figured I'd throw it out there and see if there's any news.
We're going to look at a couple issues with parking and parking tags and stickers, and that's in the works. We'll get some information out on that soon. The no smoking tent is still up and in place. We have recently constructed a new gazebo. It's not a gazebo, but it sounds nice.
More like a lean-to.
The gazebo.
A shelter.
It's been constructed and it's almost done, but that'll be the full-time place to smoke once that's done, and then we'll take the tent down when the shelter is ready
And
to
reopen those parking places.
Right.
Yeah.
I think other than
Everybody to get away from the doors.
And get rid of the green tent.
Get away from the doors.
So,
I think other than that, it's been relatively quiet.
You know, parking, just a heads up.
Sure.
I would encourage everybody not to park in that most northeast space right under the eave of this building. We did have a car get damaged by falling ice. I think we might even want to put cones up on that space during the winter and just
We
prevent
can.
people from parking.
Yeah, I just think let's do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
we already had one car damage.
We
Why
don't,
take
we
the
don't need
chance?
another issue. That's an ongoing issue, and we don't need another one.
Okay.
So why don't we just, since we're on the smoking topic, you gave us an update yesterday, but for everyone in the room and to capture it for the board, we still have the roof to be done and a sidewalk to be built for the smoking building, right?
Yeah, the walkway to putting pavers up to it, and
Mhm.
that will complete it. And that should happen early part of next week.
Okay. And then the signs for the parking areas,
They're ordered.
they're ordered. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody have questions on rules and regs? Okay. Water update. Greg, I'll just handle this unless you decide if you want to add anything. We had the opportunity to sit down yesterday with Jim Goodman. We had sent a request for some additional information. I had reached out to Jim a few times and said, hey, if we have the opportunity to sit down and meet face to face, why don't we go over these things? They are in the process of doing a newer study, and they've agreed to allow us to participate and at least have more visibility on this, while the study is happening versus handing us a study when it's done. So it's still very much a work in progress. I will tell you that Jerry, Joe, Eric, Greg, and I met with them yesterday, and it was a positive meeting. I think Jim very much wants to move forward and get this deal knocked out. So I felt like we walked away with some takeaways. He agreed to provide some information to us so that we can keep things moving. And I would, I'm encouraged by how well the meeting went. So, Greg, anybody here in the room, you guys want to add anything?
Just we got a lot of room to, lot of ground to cover. And I guess the one thing maybe that we could share is that we hear, and we're supposed to be provided a copy of a report suggesting that there's more capital to be invested to the tune of about $3.5 million.
For the wastewater plant. They upgraded the domestic water treatment plant. That wastewater plant is as old as this property. It's probably long overdue.
But it was positive. I think Jim very much acknowledged that we've had a very substantial progress in kind of dealing with phone and internet and everything else and kind of peeling that away. And he acknowledges that this is the last item that we ultimately need to solve for. So he wants to work as a partner. What we heard was that, and it was a positive meeting. So Jerry, you want to add anything?
Yeah, Scott, do you want to say anything about what our interim water rates are, or Joe?
We can probably cover that in the budget.
I'll cover that. I was going to touch on that when I got to it in the budget.
Any other questions? Okay. I put this on his restaurant report, but what I planned on covering is the survey. We did a general store survey a couple of months back with the help of one of our owners, Lori Kirkpatrick, and we got about 100 responses. 80% were in favor of a small general store, 20% were not. Overall, it seems like what most people wanted were breads, beverages, canned foods, dairy, just basic sundries so they didn't have to run into town. I think we got enough of a positive response that it makes sense to at least explore it a bit. I know Lori was going to do some research on how we might do something like that. Whether that is a front desk managed scenario, assuming we move forward. Just to make it clear, this isn't going to be a big old store. I think in the initial stages, what we're talking about is someplace where you can run down and get laundry detergent. Someplace you can run down and pick up canned goods or pick up snacks or something like that. And if any of y'all stay in hotels, kind of little stores they have in hotels where you just go in, grab something, say, hey, I'm in room 702, slap it on my room. I think, that is the kind of scenario we're envisioning. There's been some discussion around it being self-serve. There's been some discussions around front desk. Nothing is set in stone at this stage. It's just exploratory. Interestingly, Jim Goodman brought it up yesterday in our meeting and said, I hear you guys might be looking at a general store. Apparently, the folks at Glacier very much want them to do the same thing. So whether or not there's any kind of partnership opportunity in that, I don't know. It was just interesting that it came up in the meeting. Where we would put it, details around it, none of that has been vetted out, but I do find it encouraging that we've had folks that have provided positive feedback on us exploring something like that. So any questions on that? Nope. Gary, if anybody's chiming in online, just let me know, okay?
Did you skip over internet?
Oh, I did. Yep. You go. Internet and phone.
Internet, phone, TV, I'll add TV to that. So now our satellite TV, as of today, our satellite TV, our telephone, our internet are all off the old Glacier system and on the DirecTV and the Cedar networks for internet and phone. The Cedar networks, internet phone systems were fully lit up in High Point, about a week or two ago?
About that, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that completed the project. There may be still a few punch list items, units that have,
A few units that have glitches that they're going to troubleshoot.
yeah, there was a couple of units that were under remodel and they couldn't get them
Right.
connected and finished and stuff like that. So and those will get taken care of, but for the most part, I think everybody's pretty pleased with the system, the service, how it's working. Interestingly, I found out, had to inquire about it, but our telephone system now does include long distance to the U.S. anywhere in the continental United States and Canada. So you can pick up your phone in your unit and make a long distance call, and you won't be charged for it. It's included in the package.
So the emphasis, don't call Hawaii. Continental, you said.
He said U.S. and Canada. I inserted continental there, so maybe, I don't know. Maybe Alaska and Hawaii. I'll have to clarify that. Are Alaska and Hawaii included in that? I would think they might be, but I'll get clarification on that. Other than that, done deal. Last report. We're all finished.
Yeah, so at this stage, I think when we say all finished, we're obviously going to have people showing up and saying, hey, I can't connect to my printer, that haven't been here in a while, people that are showing up. I guarantee, because I am guilty, that I never set up my unit up here in the lodge. I was in there trying to work the other day and realized I didn't have high speed because I never set it up. So we're going to have those kind of things still happening where people have to call in and get their support. But all the connectivity's done, which is the important thing. Yeah, Jerry?
Jerry Q2 623. Gary, you may have addressed this, and if so, I apologize, but I noticed when I came up and for the first time logged into the new system up in High Point, that when I originally logged into the public network, speeds were 8 megabits per second upload and download. When I logged into my secure unit Wi-Fi, speed went up to over 200 megabits per second. So I don't know if that is what
Did you log in initially with your phone or with your laptop?
No, any of them,
Any of it?
any at all.
It's difficult to explain why that would be so low.
Somebody else up in High Point had the same problem. I can't remember who it was. And I talked to Cody about that. And how long ago did you do this?
Day before yesterday.
Okay, because I thought that had been addressed, but I'll check with Cody again and see what the story is. But there was, that problem was, to the best of my knowledge, unique to High Point, and it was just a few units. But I'll find out what the story is.
Had to be something with certain APs, right? I mean,
I don't know.
So
I don't know. It was a problem down at Cedar Networks.
oh, was it?
Yeah.
Huh.
And I don't know exactly what.
Well,
So I mean, all of the networks should be up at the high speed,
Yes.
right?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, most everybody I've talked to on a Wi-Fi connection with a laptop, phones get a little bit less because the modems in a phone aren't as good as the ones in the laptops. Get a little bit less speed, but most everybody I've talked to is getting at least 100 megabits download.
And
often
if you direct wire,
yeah, well, it really goes up.
from a laptop or a desktop, I've got 900.
Yeah.
if you direct wire into the right-hand port on the bottom of that AP, I got up to 900 on one test.
You do an Ethernet connection. Yeah, I've heard that too. I haven't done it. No need to, but and my AP it's in a place where I don't want to direct connect to it anyway.
The Tamarod Public is getting 189/290 right now.
Right now.
It's good.
So we're definitely in a much better place
Oh,
on internet and telephones than we were 6 months ago. And, glad we got that all done.
Has anybody in here used the app for the laundry? You have? Okay. I was just asking about it yesterday because I realized there was an app, and
What's that?
there's an app for the laundry facilities, and Rick reached to one of his buddies that's used it, and apparently it works like a champ. It tells you when your load's done, so you need to run back down and deal with it. So
Can you pay for it with your phone?
yeah,
And if you
put
want
your information
to-
in the phone.
You
If
put
you
your
want to
information-
extend it,
so you
you
don't
can
use the
extend it on
coins?
your
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, I hadn't set it up yet because I was scrambling for coins yesterday.
When did that get?
I don't
Was that
know.
always there?
I'll find
They
out.
put it in. I don't know.
been
It
there
was
about
here
a
last
year
year.
now. A year,
Yeah.
It's a nice option for guests. I was in the laundry
Jerry,
room on the second
Melissa
floor,
said she's
and there was
used
a
it.
gal that didn't have quarters, and I mentioned to her the app, and she said, "Oh." And so she went into the hallway and she downloaded that app. She came back and she did her laundry.
Yeah.
And
That's
she was
great.
super happy. She's like, "Wow." So it's a nice amenity for people.
So what is the app? What's the name of the app that you have?
It's called Micro
It's
Payments.
It says it on the washing machine.
Yeah, it does.
There's a little sticker on it. Yeah, but it's pretty slick.
It's called
good.
Micro Payments GS.
Okay.
That's slick. I didn't know we had
Better than
that capability.
dirtyclothes.com.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't used it yet. I
I
just
mean, that-
downloaded it yesterday.
That goes way beyond the public use washers and dryers that you put your credit card in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was cool. I
Hey,
just had
Scott, if you can email me that link, I'll send it out in email to everybody next week.
okay. Okay, I'll do that.
That's all I had on it.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on phone, internet? Okay.
I mean, I guess the only other thing is all of the information, as Scott said, for setup and all that, all the information is out on the website. Gary's got it all out there.
I got one other. Joe, you want to mention that we still have some recorders left?
Yes, we have about 20 DVRs left. So any new owners or owners who don't have one and still want one, the special price of $125 is still there. Once those run out, I think they go up considerably.
They're about 200.
200, yeah, if we have to order more.
Somebody has
Can I
some.
ask you a question?
Yeah. Go ahead,
Hello?
Boyd.
Yeah, this is Bob Breidenbach in 713, 714.
Hey,
Am
Bob.
I not supposed to be?
Would you mind?
Hello?
Yeah. Would you mind just sending that by chat and we'll address it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. And we're going to keep going. We'll come back to it. King. Okay, Bob. You have that muted? Okay. All right. Technically, we're not supposed to take questions over the phones. That's always been when we set up GTM. That's one of the things that we did, and we were reminded of that last meeting. So, all right. Succession committee. Eric, you want to cover that?
Sure. I think everybody is aware that we are in the process of trying to identify a property manager to carry us going forward. The team has been working diligently. We're looking at lots of different opportunities. We're using some website type searches. We're considering using professional help in the case of either an HOA company or possibly a recruiter. Let's just say Dave's not an easy guy to replace. But we're working diligently at it.
Yeah, we've received through the two places that we posted the job descriptions. We've received about 70 resumes. I will tell you that we've spoken to a consultant. Job market's extremely tight. The folks that the resumes that we've seen have been largely folks that are on the periphery of being able to do it. They probably have certain skill sets, but we probably have seen half a dozen, maybe 8 that have closer to the skill set we're looking for. Some all inclusive, some not as much, and then a bunch of people that work in Mancos and are just looking to do a change, work in Albuquerque, that kind of thing. So we've seen some of that too. But the process is ongoing. We're still diligently working at it. I think we've interviewed 5 or 6 folks over the phone, that kind of thing. But we'll continue working on that and provide updates as we know more. Okay. Any questions on that? Did Bob submit his question? Not yet.
Good question. Do you have a time frame for when you want to have the search?
We've always kind of had it in our head that, and what we've kind of explained to the consultant and others, that our goal would be no later than the first of the year. Sooner if we can get it done. Obviously, breaking with a clean budget and that kind of thing, certainly that's the ideal time to do it. Knowing that this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of transition to this. We've run the association for the same way for a very long time. And in bringing in an association manager, again, the end goal is to find someone who can truly run the association and take over a lot of the administrative burden, take over a lot of the things that we have as a board, like budgeting, have historically done, and allow us to be more of a supervisory entity. Not that we would not continue with some level of involvement, but start to migrate that away over time. So, finished question? Good?
Scott?
Yeah. Got Bob's?
Yeah, Bob's question.
All right,
Scott,
fire away.
I sent you an email about my internet problem. We have some issues with peripherals, printers, Wi-Fi thermostats.
Yeah. All we can tell you is about the peripherals is there's various types of Wi-Fi. There's various signals for Wi-Fi. Cody is here to help with that. We certainly can't guarantee that any particular device that you've historically had is going to work or connect with the modems that we have today. It's possible, and I think you brought something up yesterday, somebody had to replace a thermostat.
Somebody replaced the thermostat with a different make and model, and it worked.
Yeah. So it is possible that might be the resolution. We don't know. We encourage you to call. Do you have something out there?
Put that information out in the e-blast as well. If I'm considering a Wi-Fi thermostat. I have one in Phoenix, and if knowing the make and model would be good, or at least a range of make and models that might work.
Yeah, and Bob, to answer your next question, I don't know the make and model yet, but I'll find out next week from Cedar Networks. It was Jenny Dwan who told me that. Okay. Printers have been a problem, and this may be an issue, and Cody and I will sort of look at this. This may be an issue with the type of encryption that these things employ. Yeah. That may be it, I'm not sure.
Yeah, in some cases, similar to what you do on your phone or in your car, you may have to reset it, forget your network, reset it all up all over again. It's not, if it's looking for the old IP, you've got a new IP now. So again, Cody can help with that and try to troubleshoot it. But just know going in that, these are issues that we don't know about until they surface, and we're going to have to try to fix them as they come up. And if something needs to be replaced, we apologize in advance, but there's not a whole lot we can do about it because there's varying degrees of technology and it changes constantly.
Same thing happened with the satellite TV. There were a number of owners who had to
get new
go out and get new TVs because they didn't. The older TVs, even some older flat screen TVs, weren't compatible. So it's just nature of the beast.
Thanks for bringing that up, Bob. Yeah, Jerry?
Jerry Q2623. Related issue that has come up over the years from time to time, and that is cell service up here being real spotty. Okay, I have Verizon and I've had issues. Sometimes I have to go out into the parking lot.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
After many lengthy discussions and being on hold forever with Verizon, they said that for people who don't have reception where they are, if they have access to Wi-Fi, they can ask Verizon to provide for them what's called a home extender. And what it does is you can plug it into your Wi-Fi. Sets up. It has a GPS unit that either you can use the unit itself to acquire a GPS signal, or you can put a separate antenna out for GPS in a window. And these extenders should allow you to have, when you're in your unit, coverage just like you were sitting next to a cell tower.
So this is called a
It's called a
home extender? Is this a
Yeah.
device?
It is a device.
Yeah,
a
I've seen them in the
physical device.
stores before.
And
There are two owners down in Gamble Oak, I think Bet and Kimberly did this, and they're not cheap. They're a couple $100 anyway, but
Let me tell you this, what they told me was that because we don't have our landline anymore, and that I need it for, like emergency type services and things like that. They said, and I don't know if it's because I've been a customer of theirs for a long time, that they would give me a loaner, no charge, and all that if I left Verizon service within 3 years, I would have to return it or pay for it. But after 3 years, it seems like
So they're basically giving you one as long as you,
I remained a Verizon customer.
and the worst case scenario, the best case scenario is if you left Verizon, you'd give it back.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this has been driving me nuts for years, and I haven't no experience yet, and maybe the two owners down Gamble Oak Bed or whoever can comment on how well it works. But it looks to me like this might be an option for people who want improved cell service.
Is that something maybe we could have Cody just research? Just dig into,
Yeah.
get online, figure out? I don't know who has good signal here, who doesn't, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T,
I get
I have
one
no
or-
idea.
I mean, I generally have no problem.
I know Verizon sucks, that I do know.
AT&T does
I
as
mean,
well.
it would be nice, if we can get one of those, we should put one in this room, because you can't,
Well,
Yeah.
again, we can't do one for every single carrier, but my thought would be
well, that's true too.
maybe you stick them in the lobby, down here in this central area, somewhere if they weren't obtrusive, and
And they're,
certainly worth looking
Are
at.
these,
They're pretty
Jerry, are
size.
these
I'll get to you
extenders,
one
are they unique to your number?
I don't know that, Joe, but it seemed to me that, first of all, Verizon was not, wasn't advertising these things.
No.
In fact, when they agreed to send me one, they said that they were back ordered. So I'm going to have to wait like a couple of weeks before I can get it.
Yeah.
I suspect that they are tied to your number and your service. What they told me was that, because we have sometimes issues down in Albuquerque too, that I can plug it in there. When I come up here, I can unplug it from there, bring it up here, plug it in here. It takes some amount of time, 10 minutes or so, for it to go through its boot up and syncing exercise before it becomes operational. But I should be able to move it from one place to another. How closely they monitor whether your phone, that your account that you have with them is using it, I don't know.
So how does that, you said one of the reasons they gave you one is you didn't have a landline, but now everybody has a landline. So
Well,
how
we
does
have
that?
VoIP.
Yeah.
That's not a landline, technically.
what's
Okay.
the internet?
Okay, you had a question?
An easy and cheap way to do it is just turn your Wi-Fi calling on your cell phone, which I've been doing for a long time. And I can, before I did that, I had to stand by my window and it still dropped if I walked away from my window. But now I can go all around.
I
Yeah.
did that too, but the issue that I had was that it's set so that if it picks up a cell signal, it will switch to that. And when it drops below, it'll kick back over to Wi-Fi. And you're right on the hairy edge, so it was,
I think you can turn your cellular service off and turn your Wi-Fi on, is I think the way it works.
Okay.
But thanks for bringing that up, Brian. It's a solution, but it can't hurt to look into it.
Turn your cell service off for Wi-Fi while you're in your unit, and you leave and you forget to turn it back on, you miss calls.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that one. Yeah.
Well, mine, as soon as I leave, I have it on Wi-Fi calling. As soon as I leave here, it goes to cellular. As soon as I get into another Wi-Fi area, it turns back on to Wi-Fi. Like when I go up to Purgatory, then it goes back to Wi-Fi.
Well, like Jerry said, if it senses a weak signal, it'll flip back and forth.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Do we have anything for ARC today?
Yes.
Okay.
Real quick, before we leave that, just one other thing for Cody. I'm with AT&T. We talk mostly about Verizon. AT&T has a similar beast of sorts. They call it a microcell. Again, you order this thing. They immediately talk about they need $100 and some or whatever, and you just keep talking to them and you tell them how important it is and that you're getting a lousy service and you're still paying your phone bill, et cetera, and they send you one for free. So microcell is,
Okay,
it's up on my unit if he wants to go take a look at it.
okay.
It's a booster of sorts.
We have a question online?
Yeah, Bob also asked, what about the issue I had with 2 cable boxes that needed to be reset after a power failure?
We don't have cable boxes.
We don't have cable
anymore.
boxes. If he's referring to.
Oh, TV?
His,
I assume he's referring to the DirecTV
well, you just
boxes.
open the door and hit the red button and it resets.
Yeah, reset it.
If it's,
If it's, well, I'm
the receiver boxes have the red button on the right-hand side.
correct,
The
yeah.
The
DVRs have it
DVRs
behind
have
the
a little
door.
door on the front right. You push that open and hit the red button.
Yeah, and just for anybody who's not familiar with DirecTV, it can be fickle. You do have to reset it sometimes. Just know that going in. I've had it for years. It's, you know, you're going to have storms, you're going to have clouds. Don't be beating up on Cody in the middle of the winter because we have a snowstorm and you have no TV. It's going to happen. So know it going in. But do you have a question?
I just wanted to make a comment. I'm not sure what Jerry's talking about, the home extender, but I'm familiar with at like Radio Shack, they sell these boosters, and we bought them for big buildings like this, and we attach them on the outside of the building,
Yeah.
and it just enhances the connectivity. But just another option if.
Yeah, but we don't want those attached all over the building. So
Yeah, we don't want nothing on the
They
outside
have
of the
them,
building.
they're very small.
yeah, I've used them at my beach house. I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to ARC.
Okay, we have one. It's unit 719, and basically what they wanted to do is they're wanting to put in a stove.
That's no, okay. We know that protocol.
Yeah, and it's an end unit. They want to just put in a vent on the outside. What Dave and I discussed was rather than having it go up into the stucco, unless there's some type of code, have them put it in the wood, whereas if,
It could be repaired.
yeah,
We have those in other places already.
so anyway, what Dave and I discussed was we would recommend approval and,
Do we have plans and all that other stuff, or beyond that drawing?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Do they have a
Subject
contractor?
to,
They have an
you
approved
can approve
contractor?
subject to submittal.
They're probably just gonna use a stove contractor.
Yeah.
Four Corners is going to do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
All
Is
right.
this a fireplace or
a freestanding gas fireplace,
a
not
freestanding,
wood.
like we have, like some of the other ones we have
Yeah.
around? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're venting it instead of up through the ceiling, they're venting it out the wall.
I mean, we've done a jillion of these, so
Yeah.
you want to make a
Yeah.
motion? subject
so
to-
I make a motion that we approve the installation of the stove. We will ask the owner to look at lowering the van into the wood rather than the stucco in case of future repair.
Make it subject to submittal of proper plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
And subject to the submission of proper plans.
All right, got a motion, got a second? Somebody want
I'll
to second
second.
that?
Yeah, I'll second.
Eric seconds. All in favor?
Discuss.
Oh, we had any discussion? I didn't figure we'd have discussion, so.
Probably not, but you gotta ask.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah.
On the board? All right.
Actually, we can give that to Ron. Copy. Good.
All in favor of approving the motion for this owner to add a fireplace?
Aye.
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 7-0, let's go.
7-0.
7-0, let's go.
7-0, let's go.
Very well.
All right.
Thank you.
Budget time.
Budget time, Gary, you wanna give me the deal?
So for everybody's benefit, we spent 3.5 hours in here yesterday getting this knocked out. And think we are pretty close to being done.
We are. Okay, so as Scott indicates, we spent, I don't know, 3-4 hours on this yesterday.
I think we finished about 11:30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about 3.5 hours. So the board received the updated worksheets after we finished up yesterday. Anything that was changed from or still might need to be discussed is highlighted in the blue. On yours, it might have. Oh, Gary did print it in color.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's in blue.
Good job, Gary. So just to summarize, right now, as we spoke yesterday, we're going to draw 191,000 out of the reserves for the South Tower Elevator project. The assessments to be billed to the owners puts us at effectively the same level that we had last year. People will see a difference in their bills and their base assessments of a couple of pennies less. It doesn't come out exactly the same because of the new calculation we have for coming out the assessments, but I looked at them all and it was anywhere from 2 to 5 cents difference from last year. So here we are with that.
Don't spend it all in one place.
Yeah, don't spend it all in one place.
But it is important to note that you got about a $25 reduction with cable and internet and all that.
Yeah, your overall expenses, your overall billings are going to be down because of the reduction in the internet and cable TV expenses costs. So that's the revenue section there. Any questions from the board on that? Any issues, any tweaks so far? Okay, scrolling down to the administrative expenses. The resultant calculations with everything, I think when we put in the front desk rental program budget, when we put in the marketing, that kicked up their budget and caused an increase in the account 560 here. So that's now 78,830. Operations, building and grounds, nothing's changed from yesterday there. Salaries, we went over that yesterday and filled in all the numbers there. Water and sewer, utilities. I'll speak to water and sewer now. When in our meeting with Jim Goodman yesterday, he indicated then, as he indicated at a meeting this past summer that was held for the people in the back that Eric and I sat in on, that the rate study that they did was somewhat flawed, the data. So they're taking the position that the resultant rates may not be exactly what they should be. He indicated then that there likely would be some adjustment. Didn't indicate how much. We took that, and based on our consumption and billing, as you can see over here, we budgeted $416,268 last year, which was based on our fixed monthly fee that we had in the past for water and sewer of approximately $34,000 a month, $33,000 and change. You can see the actual spending year to date, projected actual spending year to date. To year end through the end of this year is going to be considerably less than that, and that's because with the new billing structure and volumetric rates being applied, our bills have been considerably below that fixed fee threshold that we used to have. So we've been enjoying that. I project that based on those rates, the new rates and occupancy that we've been able to track over the years, which kind of correlates to water consumption, that at the current rates, our annual cost for water would be about $320,000 a year. So almost $100,000 less than we were spending before. So what we did here, and I did this before Jim's comment yesterday, was take that figure and nominally increase it by 5%. In our meeting yesterday with Jim, he said, what I would do if I were you, because they don't know what the rates are going to be. They won't know until probably first or second quarter next year after they get the new rate study done, and they come back and determine what the rate adjustment might be. His comment was, if I were you, I would nominally increase what you're paying this year for next year. 5% sounds nominal to me.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with that. Internet telephone service. I had to adjust after I got an email back from Cedar yesterday. I had to adjust that a little bit. My calculations showed that our monthly fee for the internet telephone was going to be about $18,400. I think it was yesterday. It's gone. The new number there is $18,956 per month. So it's $56.59 per month per household. And again, as I commented yesterday, you combine that with the satellite TV, and $86.61 a month compared to we were paying previously about $110 a month for those.
106.28.
Huh? 106.28. You said that yesterday. So about $20 difference, $20 reduction in the cost of. So that's what you'll see on your bills, about a $20 downtick in your bills from January of last year to January of next year. Of this year to January of next year. You've already seen some of that reduction because you've been getting billed for the satellite TV at the lesser rate for this year. Roll that all down to the bottom line here, and we have a balanced budget. I'll go over the capital real quick. Capital projects. The upper section is the projects for this year, and the lower section is the projects that we anticipate doing next year, along with the ones that carry over from last year. Contribution to reserves now sits at $87,282. It's an odd number because that's the last number I put in to balance the budget. So we're taking 190. Well, I'll get that in the reserves. The only thing that we didn't come up with yesterday was whether or not we put anything in here for these vehicle charging stations. This potential project of putting in a electric car charging station somewhere. We don't know where. We don't know what it looks like. It's just, this is kind of a guess at this point. Jerry, did you hear back from that?
Haven't heard back from them yet, Joe. I expect it won't be until Monday.
Okay. So I don't know if we want to put anything in there for that or not. I think that's I question whether we would even do that next year.
Yeah, again, I mean, so for those of you who aren't familiar, we had a suggestion, I think it was from Ron Hyman, that we consider putting a charging station in. We had this discussion with Jim Goodman also. We've done some initial exploratory, but have nothing concrete. Instead of me describing it, why don't you explain the company that you are familiar with at Albuquerque?
Yeah, I don't know if any of you have chargeable electric vehicles, but we use down in Albuquerque ChargePoint stations, and they're all across the nation. There are thousands of them, and they're growing by leaps and bounds. So we have an inquiry into ChargePoint to see about putting in a station. The way it works is you get an app and use your app to charge your vehicle. That's it, basically.
Yeah. So we don't know if there's any cost associated with it. I think yesterday we toyed with throwing a $5,000, $6,000 number in that item, but I don't even know if, theoretically if we need to, because it's not a big enough number that's going to be a game changer. We might find it. We can split costs with Glacier because they are looking at the same thing.
It can be one of those things that goes into account 830 unplanned capital expenses.
Yeah.
If it's nominal enough.
Right.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest too,
Yeah.
as long as the cost is reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, if we find out the cost is going to be in 5 figures, then we rethink it a little bit maybe. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that then for now.
I would just mention, Joe, and I don't think we need to add it here, probably in the same category as we did talk briefly about a dog park as well. We didn't set aside any money for it, but, because we don't have any idea.
And we don't have any
We don't
land.
have any
We talked,
real
well, we
estate.
talked to Glacier yesterday again about, is there a possible,
Again, that could be an
Exactly.
unplanned capital
Exactly.
expense
Yeah.
too. So
but it was raised by him.
we actually increased the budget for unplanned capital expenses for next year from 20 to 25,000, just because we've seen that these things have continued to come up year over year. So, all right, so let me just
So while
figure it out. Okay.
Joe's updating there, a couple of things I'll point out. As you know, we've had kind of this ongoing issue around signage. We did put a number in there for signage. We did talk to Jim about signage yesterday. He has agreed to at least go back and revisit a lot of the things that previous administrations had committed to, and we still haven't gotten done. So we had a line item for signage. To remind everybody, we did a land swap with them for a couple of parking spots, and now we have the old tee box north of where the grills are on the north end of the lodge. We put a line item there, just have no plans whatsoever right now on what we might do with it, but we put a budget item in there in anticipation of us having discussions around how we might leverage that land. So I think those are the only two new items we stuck on the project list when we went through the workshop, right? Everything else was items that David identified.
Those last two items are the two that we added yesterday during the workshop. Yeah. Okay, permanent reserves. So I filled out this sheet. What I want to point out is that if you look at this cell here, what we started out with, the upper left one, 2019 budget, we ended up with we started with a beginning balance in our reserves of 784,542. We projected by year end that we'd be at 781,371. We fell short of that by about $81,000. That was due to the purchase of Unit 110, which came out of reserves. So now that 700,647 becomes our starting balance for next year, and I did get a response back from our second of the two banks that we have our laddered CDs with, and they got me the interest figures. I added that to.
So you increased.
Well, if you look,
8442 number.
Yeah. So if you look at that, the components of that are $39.95 coming from First Internet Bank and $44.47 coming from Stearns Bank, and then for the rest, we'll get that much more interest this year. So we pretty good. We budgeted for $10,100 and we got $10,409 of interest.
That's a lot better than $5
And I'll point out, thanks to Eric for pushing this, and we got it done in the last 2 years. We went from earning nothing on our reserves, virtually nothing, $10 a year maybe, with money market rates, to earning $10,000 a year on the laddered CDs, and that will go up because as these laddered CDs mature, the ones at First Internet Bank are all 24-month CDs now, but they have staggered maturity dates every 6 months. So if we needed to draw money out, we wouldn't be pulling money out of a 24-month CD when it was only 6 months into its term. Same thing with the laddered CDs at Stearns Bank in Minneapolis. However, those were just taken out last year, so those are on their way to being converted all to 24-month CDs. So when that happens, we'll be at max interest on all of those, and we'll earn likely even more. That's why I bumped up the budget to $11,500 for next year. We withdrew $75,000 from we were planning to withdraw $75,000. that number changed, didn't it? Yes, it did. Let me get back over there.
So 78 something, Joe?
Yeah, 87, 282. Okay, gotta update that. Okay, well, that makes the bottom line look a little better. Okay, so we'll transfer, we'll do a capital transfer to reserves of 87,282 next year if we stay with this. Again, 191,000 comes out of reserves for the elevator project, and that leaves us with a balance of 608,429 at the end of next year. I want you to look at the difference, board, between that number, what we started with this year, and we will have drawn down our reserves by almost $180,000. My question is, do you really want to do that?
Well, and as we talked about yesterday, we've got about
I'm just asking the hard question.
Yeah,
that's all.
no.
Yeah.
well, what we talked about yesterday is we do have about a year left, maybe a little more, to get to a break even on the rental of 110. And then certainly we have the ability to.
That money can go back. We can sell it.
We can
put
sell
that money
110
back
and
in
put it back
reserves,
in.
and that's
Yeah.
the market value of that unit today is probably around 70, 65, 70. Hopefully that still keeps going up.
I think it's far more than that, based on our sales, but we'll see.
Have you looked at that unit?
Uh,
It's still got the old Dwyer kitchen in it.
Yeah.
It's a very low end of the market
Okay,
lodge unit.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Jerry?
Comment and a question. Let's see if I can remember which is which now. If the board decides to sell Unit 110, that is now owned by the association.
We would have to
And
get
that will
approval.
require a vote of
Yes, it would.
every owner of the association.
No, it wouldn't.
No?
66
Common
and
element?
2/3.
Okay.
Releasing a common element requires 66.
We'd have to have a
2/3.
vote of every owner, but we would have to get 66 and 2/3 approval.
Okay, all right. So I just want to make sure that.
I can't see where that would be a problem.
Okay, all right.
I mean, that's so uncontroversial an issue. It's sell the asset and put the money in reserve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
The other thing is on the balance in the reserves, and you're concerned about it dropping down over 150,000 from where it was at the beginning of beginning of this year. The expenditures for the elevators are very large ticket.
400,000 between the two of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and they don't happen every year. So we're being hit with those this year and next year, right?
Mhm.
And then presumably there will be some time before we have another large ticket item.
Not
Now,
true.
The roof,
We got the roof and possibly
other things.
carpet, I think,
Yeah.
are the two
Yeah.
items that
Good.
might be coming in the next 3 to 5.
I mean, the way I like to think about it, Jerry, is we've known this has been coming for 5 or 6 years. We put money in the piggy bank every year. That's why we had $700 and some thousand dollars. Now it's time to take money out of the piggy bank and pay the bill.
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I get that part too. I'm just one of those people that doesn't like to see my savings go down.
Right.
Well, we're gonna have to replenish them. I'm with you.
No, I think it is important to keep our reserve balance up.
Mhm. I mean, I understand the logic behind all of it. It's just but I also understand that's a big drop in 1 year.
Well, if you can't do it on the accounting records, but if you put the 80,000 or the 70,000 back in, it's not so ugly.
It's not so ugly.
Yeah.
And that just moved from one place on the balance sheet to another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
It's still an asset. Yeah. So I'll take that as a little solace.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind, interest rates are low. If we so chose, we could borrow a portion of that, and likely the interest that we're making on the reserves would cover the interest that we would borrow to pay for a portion of it. But again, that would be a decision we'd have to look at later. We're not, this expense doesn't happen for
I don't
another
even think we're close to
11
having to
months.
borrow money.
So,
Yeah.
again, you're taking money out, we're gonna have to pay the bill regardless.
Yeah.
So whether we leave it in reserves or we leave it elsewhere, we're still gonna have to pay the bill.
Yeah. If you're thinking we sell that unit in a year, then that begs the question of what we do when the current lease expires, which is August. Yeah. So that's something to consider too. I mean, we can discuss that when the time comes. As we get farther into, as we get into, down the road into next year, we look at where we are. We might, we want to see what, get a reading from Julie Houston as to what she could sell that unit for and stuff like that.
Well, she told us the other day, in case anybody isn't aware, I think she's down to 8. Didn't she say 8 units?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So her inventory is at all-time lows.
All-time lows. Yep.
Yeah, Brian.
Would it be worth it to finish remodeling that unit before we sell?
That's what he was just referring to.
Oh.
Yeah, when the lease is up, we may go in and do a cost benefit with Julie and say, okay, if we drop the duct wire, put a stovetop in, whatever the case may be.
That would be a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can spend $10,000 and get $20,000 back out of it.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we own it now. Right now, it's cash flowing. We're putting all the money. I don't think you mentioned this, but we're getting $850 for rent, and it's going straight into reserves.
$850, and it's going into reserves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's a contribution to reserves that's not even shown on here.
I made a note of that to ask you later, because I didn't know whether it was just flowing through your general budget, because you hadn't segregated, or whether that should flow in as a separate line item.
I probably should add that in here. Yeah.
Okay.
That's just cash flow coming in. Yeah.
Well, just real quickly, because Jerry touched on it, if we look at the 5-year plan of what Dave and I have worked out through the long-term asset replacement plan, we've got an elevator replacement in 2020, round numbers 200,000. In 2021, we have $175,000 for refurbishment, replacement of fixtures and carpeting in the lodge. In 2022, we have $180,000 for the parking lot in Pinecone. In 2023, we have $175,000 for the parking lot in Gamble Oak. And in 2024, which is only 5 years out, we've got call it $500,000 for the roof of this building and some other items, but which will need some review. But we don't get a break anytime in the next 5 years, and in fact, it may very well be cost effective to the tune of maybe saving up to 10% to move the work on the roof forward a couple of years. So having reserves are going to be important to us for the next several years.
Okay, so I added the rental revenue for 12 months, 10,200. So that makes the number look a little better even.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last sheet is the rental program, front desk, funding. I guess the biggest change here from last year is on this line right here, 460, the admin fees that are charged by the rental program for nightly rentals. It was $9 a month, $9 a night. This year, it's going down to $5 a night next year. This is in recognition that the resort fee charged by Glacier for renters to have access to the pool and fitness facility reaches its max under our contract with them of $25 a night. As you recall, when we signed that contract in 2017, the starting point for that resort fee was $17 a night. It went up to $21 a night last year, and it goes up to $25 next year, this year, and $25 next year. So wanting to cap that fee that's charged to the renters at $30, 25 plus 5 is how we're doing that. This is the expenses in and the salaries and the budget balances. And as I pointed out earlier, the contribution from the general fund is the 78,830, which goes over into revenue on the operating side. And that is it. Questions and comments, discussion, anything you want to change? Good to go.
Okay, last year we set a target for contribution to capital. I'm looking at page 4, column 4. Our contribution was going to be $76,729. Okay, at this point, we're still at 75 after the changes you've made today, or does that number actually creep up a little?
No, the changes I made today go towards the 2020 budget. 2019 stayed the same.
I'm looking at 2020. I referenced the 76, but then I'm asking about the
Yeah,
75.
we upped it.
87.
It's 87.
It's 87,
Okay.
282 now.
87.
You're looking at the paper copy instead of up there. That's the downside of trying to do this from a
Right.
piece of paper that was printed at 6 o'clock this morning.
Right. So, and the 87 does not include the revenue from rental.
No, that's
just added a
now,
line.
that's
It's almost
I just
100.
added that.
Right, so it's almost $100,000 between the interest, the rent,
That's correct.
and the contribution.
That's more than $100,000.
Yeah, okay, yep. Because, clearly if we're gonna spend close to 200 a year, we have to be putting in 200 a year into our piggy bank, or our reserve numbers are gonna go even lower, so.
Sure.
Okay.
Any other discussion? So we need to have a motion to approve the budget,
Motion to
correct?
approve, and then you can have a discussion so that anybody out there could
Right.
ask a question.
So anybody want to make a motion to approve the budget?
I will
Rick,
make a motion to approve the budget as proposed.
do we have a second?
Second.
Eric seconds. We need to vote, then we do discussion. Discussion first. I always get it backwards. Any discussion? I think we just opted into discussion, but anybody have any other discussion comments on the budget before we vote?
Good work.
Anybody online?
Anybody online or out there?
Nothing
Gary,
online.
got any questions online?
No.
Amazing. I guess we did a good job here.
3.5 hours well spent.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move to a vote. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the budget for 2020?
Aye.
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 Kathy's not there. Kathy?
I said aye.
Oh,
Okay.
you must have been right on top of somebody else.
All right.
Probably Greg.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so we have the budget approved.
We do. I will formalize this in accordance with our declarations and or bylaws. I believe it's the bylaws. This budget will be mailed out to all owners at least 60 days ahead of the next board meeting.
Thank you.
The owners have an opportunity to review the budget and protest if they wish, in accordance with the bylaws. Failing a prescribed protest, the budget will be ratified in is it January or February is our next meeting? Whenever the next board meeting. Yeah. That's it.
All right, cruising right along. So, next item is any old business to discuss. Does anybody have any old business they want to discuss? Anybody on the board?
Nope.
I think we covered the signs and stuff already. Talked about the smoking deal. We're getting new signs for the no smoking too, right? For the areas that we have to have those.
Mhm.
Okay. Those
You're
are
going to put a
ordered.
sign on the new shelter
There's
or
gonna be
near
a
it.
sign on the sidewalk, and then I just moved that wooden one to it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other old business? Any comments online or anybody in the room?
Nothing online.
New business? Wow.
You're about to break the record.
You said that earlier tonight.
You said 90 minutes. We're going to beat that.
You'll be home by noon.
Well, we didn't beat Eric's projection. He said 45.
All right. No, nothing in the room? No questions? No comments? Nothing online, right?
Nothing online.
Okay. We don't really have a whole lot. I don't think we need executive committee today, correct? Got some other things we're going to take care of? Okay. All right. Well,
To adjourn.
do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
I knew you'd say so, Kathy.
I got to go back to work.
All right. Land speed record. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I call it adjourned at, look at the right clock, 9:05.
Outstanding.
Again, thanks everyone for joining. If you didn't sign in, please do so.